Good morning, gentlemen. It is great to be back. We took a bit of an extended break there, I know. We had Thanksgiving, then I ended up getting pretty sick, all the while trying to get closed on a house. Now, we did say that men are owners and not renters, so I've spent the last 2 weeks really living that lesson. So listen, we have a few lessons left before we close the semester. That said, welcome back to Manhood 401 here at Manhood University. For today, I need to pull your focus onto Luke Chapter 6, verse 48, when Jesus talks about the men who hear his teachings and abide by them. He says they are like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid the foundation on rock. When a flood came, the torrent struck that house, but could not shake it because it was well built. This week, I want to talk to you about that burning desire to create, to build things. Man, we were created in God's image, and while nothing we make is ever truly new, God placed in us the inherent desire to transform the world around us. We build buildings, we paint paintings, write software, design planes, trains, and automobiles. We write music and poetry. We plant churches. We charter philanthropic organizations. We start families and build schools. Men, we are engineers, deep thinkers, philosophers, scientists, and architects. And it all comes from the same spark of creation that the Creator put in us. So it should come as no surprise that not only do we want to make things, but we also want to make things better. Now, for this lesson, I'm going to be a little scripture heavy, but I have to plagiarize from the Creator God because our desire to create can really only be studied from its core, and that's the God who made us in his own image. At some point in life, you're either creating or improving. And that gives us two groups. Well, okay, not two groups. It gives us two phases to address today. So you guys ready to build something? Okay, well, let's examine those aspirations from the source, our Creator. He uses an easy to follow pattern for creation. He starts with vision. He communicates that vision. He performs the work. He admires the completion, and he moves on to the next step. So let's look at the story in Genesis chapter 1. God takes a void earth and begins to speak things into existence. He has a vision. I did say that lesson on vision was going to come in handy, didn't I? We men, we get divine inspiration. We get it all the time. We may ignore it, but something places a desire in us to create. So God begins to create based off of his vision, and he is very specific about the outcome. Don't believe me? Well, let's look at some of the things he says and the details he gives. In verse 11, he says, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth." Wow, that sounds pretty clear to me. Now, in verse 14, he goes on to say, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth." That's pretty specific. Men, we have to be clear about what we're doing. Now, after the things he creates, 6 times God says it's good. Listen, he actually takes time to step back, look at what he made, and recognize that it's good. Men, it's okay for us to celebrate success. We live in a world where sometimes we can be made to feel like we should apologize for success. Now, notice God doesn't flaunt it, and he really could. He could look down and say, "Hey, Lucifer, bet you wish you'd have stayed up here and kept your act together. I'm making big moves up here." He doesn't do that. The thing is, God's accomplishments speak for themselves, and we all stand back in amazement of them. Have you ever seen a work of art and said, "Wow, that's awesome, that's beautiful"? Okay, now what if the artist was standing in front of it telling you exactly what to think and why you should like it before you had a chance to appreciate it for yourself? It wouldn't be the same, would it? God shows us how to acknowledge our accomplishments the best way he can. That's by example. And now notice something else. God moves on to the next challenge. His celebration of success didn't get in the way of his next phase. Every phase of the creation project, he creates, he stands back, he admires his work, and then he gets back to it. Man, the satisfaction of a job well done doesn't manifest itself as a break from the larger task. Our God kept going until the work was done. Notice these weren't small things he was doing. Every benchmark in the creation project was a major milestone. Think about that. Creating light out of darkness, grouping oceans together and making land, creating plants and animals that reproduce. But the entire vision wasn't complete, which meant there was more work to do. Remember, man, we finish what we start, and that came from the image we were created in. So when it's all said and done, for the seventh time, God says it's good and God rests. Okay, I need you to really focus on that for a second, because you've heard about God resting probably 33 out of 52 weeks this year, and you may just glaze over that part. When you complete that project, when you've clearly communicated the vision, when you've put your hands to work, when you've diligently worked each part of the assignment and you've seen it all through until a completed vision, rest. The desire to pick up the next thing without taking a break can cause some real problems, men. Don't worry, more vision is coming, but we have to learn how to rest. Enjoy your families, enjoy your friends, enjoy the fruits of your labor, enjoy the earth the Creator gave us dominion over. The next vision may just be inspired by taking the time to enjoy the world around you. Now, when life brings us a challenge, the desire to improve can be just as strong as the desire to create. When the first man, Adam, needed a companion, God created woman. She was, at least by some opinions, an improvement. Notice how God takes what was made, though, and carefully, without damaging it, he removes what is necessary to make this improvement. He puts Adam to sleep, performs heavenly surgery, and we get woman. So the lesson here is that when we have a way to do things better, there's a right and a wrong way to make improvements. Some want to destroy everything to make room for an improvement. Maybe you see a home in disrepair and you grab a bulldozer and you got a vision for a better home. You want to knock it down. But come to find out, you could have grabbed a sledgehammer and preserved the historical charm of that home while adding modern conveniences. That would have kept the value of that home very high. But it's too late now. Just think what would have happened if God killed Adam to make Eve. What would Eve's value be without Adam? Adam was enhanced 100% with the addition of Eve. But without the preservation of Adam, there would have just have been another human being out there without any companionship by themselves. A lot of times, our desire to see things get better pushes us to do things out of order. Listen, the freedom that God gave us to improve comes with a responsibility to recognize the intrinsic value of the created thing. Oftentimes, destruction isn't necessary to improve. In those times, we don't replace creation, we supplement it. Look, I can't tell you if your vision is God-given or not, but if you aren't putting your hands or your brain to work, you're missing out on a God principle that has defined men since Adam. We were given dominion over the earth and we were made to work it. And the fruit of our labor, that will tell us the value of that work. If you're working and nothing's happening, what are you doing? If you've got your building tools and you're working up a sweat and time is passing, something should be built. But if you've been working, sweating, laboring, you have nothing to show for it, consider this. Hey, leaves will tell me that a tree is busy, but fruit will tell me that that tree is productive. Men, thanks for tuning in today. Your assignment is this: build something. You want to seek divine inspiration and get a vision. Communicate that vision. Write it out. Make it plain. Put your hands to work. Celebrate the milestones and keep pushing until it's complete. If you're already working and you haven't seen anything, examine your efforts. Do you see any fruit? If there is none, ask God to test the desires of your heart. Refocus if necessary and get it done, or move on to a God-inspired task that will be a much better use of your skills and talents that He gave you in the first place. And finally, rest. And hey, let me know how that building, company, software, project, landscaping, ministry, or relationship is doing. I would love to hear about it. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you all back here as we begin winding down the last few lessons of Manhood 401. Take care, gentlemen, and God bless you.